Welcome back, everyone, to the People of Web3 podcast. I'm Frank and Blaine as the co host. And today we have Stanley, our guest, who's a photographer, won awards, international awards, have been exhibited, have been published, has been interviewed on live TV, a lot of amazing things. Welcome, Stanley.
Okay.
Hey, welcome. It's good to be here, guys. I'm very excited to have a chat with you guys about Web3 and photography.
Do it.
Cool. So maybe just to get us started, you can do a self-introduction, let everyone know what you do, who you are.
Yeah, GM everyone. So back in 2018, I left my career as an engineer to pursue my passion in travel photography. So for the first 30 years of my life, I was born in an Asian culture, especially specifically in Indonesia. And for the first 30 years of my life, I felt like I wasn't living my own life. I wasn't living my own dream. I felt like I made all of my decision based on what's safe, based on what the society, the status quo, what my parents and the culture think is the right way. So when I found photography, it was an eye opening because I didn't realize that there was any other way to live, but to go to good school, get a good grade so that you can go to university, get a good grade in university so that you can get a good job, try to get promoted, buy a house, get married, and die, basically, right? So when I found this, it was an eye opening because as an engineer, even though I love it, it wasn't where my true passion lies. So there was a time in my life where I literally felt like it was really hard to wake up and just I found I don't have purpose to go through the day. And at some point, I have this quote of Steve Jobs quote on my bathroom mirror, which says, if today were the last day of my life, would I do what I'm about to do today? And from there, basically, I started to change things, right? Started to change the way I approach life. And long story short, half a decade later, here I am. So my journey hasn't been the easiest way. For when I left my career as an engineer, I didn't know anything about photography, about how to make money from photography. I didn't know who to ask for help, right? I was literally just figuring it out on my own. Um, and I spent a good part of the first 2 years literally figuring things out and trying things out. And it wasn't until the third year of my journey where I found a passion. My true passion in photography was to be able to help other people to pursue their passion as well, right? And that's why I decided to become a mentor. Although I do a lot of different stuff as well in photography, I mainly focus on mentorship and helping other people to be better in photography and pursue their passion and dream life by doing what they want to do. So long story short, about 2 years ago, I met, Web3, NFT. It was a crazy experience. You kind of actually it was before the craze happened. A friend of mine told me, it's like, you gotta make your photography NFT. And I'm just like, I couldn't really figure out how it works, how it applies and everything. So I could say that I was there early, but I wasn't there. I was there early but late, right? I was I had my first art minted quite early before the craze, but I didn't really understand the whole concept, the whole idea until it was quite late. So yeah, here I am now. Today, one of the way, going back to my journey, one of the way where I learned to become a better photographer was just submitting my photos into competition, get feedbacks. And through that I was able um, to get over 100 awards, get published, exhibited, and so forth. And now I'm pretty much focusing on giving back to the community and giving back to other people and photographers through my mentorship, through the events that that we are holding, and to help other people to learn from my mistake and get there so much faster.
So can you share a little bit about what you did before you got into Web3? So you said you do mentorship. I think you also do workshops, photography workshops. What else do you do in terms of income streams and making it a living? And then after you got into the space, did that change? Were you able to do something new? Is there a new business model? I just want to see if there's any difference in terms of how your day-to-day career looks like.
Yeah, 100%. So when I left engineering, one thing that I realized is that it's really important to have the why, to have a purpose. And without a purpose, you will always gonna feel lost, regardless what you do. So I have, three mission in my life, which is first, I want to help others people who are in, who I was or in my place before, and help them to live a fulfilled life through their passion, to be able to travel and see the world and find a unique perspective of the world, and to be able to share that with the people who doesn't have perhaps the ability, the time, or the opportunity to be able to do that. So before that, I tried a whole bunch of stuff, honestly. It's I tried from I was in high-end fashion. I tried portrait. Actually, I do about 2.5 years of portrait photography in Lake Louise. I did prints, of course, and I'm still doing prints because that's how I share all of this phenomenons and beautiful moments with the rest of the world. I did real estate, villas. I even tried to be influencers at some point. Uh, One thing that I never got into was commercial photography. I even tried to do like food and product photography. I never really got into commercial photography because I knew it wasn't the things that I wanted to do. I wanted to be more, about travel, nature, and so forth. So I never really got into commercial photography. I've dabbled and tried it, and I know right away that it was some of the things that I just I would do it for good money, but I wouldn't do it for the long term sort of thing. So and that goes the same with real estate and villas and so forth. So now I'm focusing on selling my art, and the main idea is that to go back to the mission is to be able to share all of this beautiful art, this beautiful moment, by being able to bring happiness and bring positivity to people life, right? By being able to spread some of these moments that are difficult to see, that not everybody get a chance and have the ability to experience, as well as focusing on the mentorship side, and that's what I'd like to do now, as well as giving back to the community, how I can help other photographers, other people to find that fulfillment, that true passion in their life. So what is the Web3 and the Web2? How does it make a difference? Well, the way I see it, the Web3 and the Web2, I think the really cool thing about the Web3 is the culture, more than anything. The smart contract, the NFT, it's great, but it's just the tool, right? The thing that I really love is the collaborations, the mindset of collaboration, the mindset of helping each other, the mindset of community. I think that is the true the difference between Web2 and Web3 for me. In terms of smart contract and all of that, I mean, they already exist in the Web2, right? We can already certify a photo print if we wanted to with certification. Of course, it's not the best way to do it, which is why I truly believe Web3 is the next bit, the next or the future. But it has been there. The difference for me is the mindset and the thinking process of the Web3.
So you mentioned you do photography, travel photography. Is there a specific genre that you do, landscapes or wildlife? Can you
Not
share that?
really. I like to shoot everything. Of course, there are some things that I'm more passionate about than others, and that is in astrophotography and adventure photography. I like to say I like going to stupid places at stupid o'clock during stupid conditions, and there was this one time where we literally hike up, or we call it skinning up, with my split board going up to the summit of the mountain. And it was negative 30 degrees Celsius in Canadian Rockies. And one of the reasons why we want to go up there is because there was a good aurora forecast, right? To see the aurora. But the problem is in Canadian Rockies, it's surrounded by mountains. So in order to be able to see the aurora, you need to it either need to be a really strong forecast, or you need to go high enough to be able to see the in the horizon. And at that time, there was so many low clouds. So we know if we want to be able to see, a glimpse of aurora, we need to hike up at the high vantage point. So that's what we did. We skiing up with our snowboard, our skis. We took our cameras. We left around, I think it was 9 p.m. We got to the summit around 9 p.m. and we got to the summit around 1 a.m. It was freezing cold. Probably had about 40 minutes sleep, 1 hour 40 minutes sleep, because we were just too tired. We couldn't handle it, but we couldn't really sleep because it was so cold. But yeah, it was one of the best experience that I've ever had in my photography in my life. If that. And yeah, that's where the passion kind of lies.
God, yeah, that's adventure photography for sure. Um, just want to quickly add because I didn't ask this just now. So you're based in Bali. Are you from Indonesia or where have you lived before?
Ooh, that's a long
I remember
answer there.
you stayed in Australia for a bit, no?
Yeah, 100%. So I was born in West Java, in the island there, and in the Java Island. And then during middle school, I spent a little bit of time, couple of years in Los Angeles. I came back to Indonesia for high school, went to Australia for university, and that's where I became an engineer and go through that part of my life. And when I left engineering, I did 2 months trip across Indonesia. I did 4 months driving around the continent of Australia. It was 40,000 kilometers worth of driving. And I spent 2.5 years in Canada until the COVID hits. So when the COVID hits, my visa ran out and I decided to come back here. So actually, when you ask me, where, yes, I'm currently based in Bali, but I'm pretty much a nomadic. I live of a suitcase. All I need is in a suitcase and my camera bag, and I could literally leave anytime I want. There is nothing really tying me to one location or another.
Nice. I like that nomadic lifestyle. I also try and have all my possessions just kind of in one suitcase. I'm not like a photographer, like a good photographer like you guys, but the camera is always like an integral part that I have to squeeze into that suitcase somewhere. You're a photographer, you're an artist. Whenever I speak to artists, I always kind of like to ask this high level question. Because it is subjective and people have so many interesting perspectives around it. But when it comes to art, how do you define what art is? Like, how do you think about what art actually is? And how do you see photography fitting into that concept?
Yeah, that is a great question. And actually I only just start thinking about art when when Frank, myself and Ruan organized NFT Art Week, right? People ask us, it's like, well, what would you consider art? And I literally I Googled it, and it's literally art is, it's an expression, right? It's an expression of oneself. So for me, art is about the emotion that it touch on, the emotion that it feels. Of course, it can be in a form of an image. It can be a form of painting. It could be in a form of sculpture, but you've seen this thing, right? Where people are just calling it stupid. It's like, why would people buy that kind of art? It's just a square or it's just an empty canvas, but people still buy it because it's about the emotion behind what it represents. So for me, when you ask me what art is an expression of oneself, right? It could be a concept, it could be the way you see the world, the way you interpret the world. And where does photography fit in? I guess it lies behind the intention. So, for example, a lot of the photos that I've taken for the Milky Way are intentionally crafted, right? In a sense that I plan the timing. Oh, it's gonna line up this way. This is the type of photo that I will get, and I'm gonna create this, and that, right? Now, that I call that a photo art compared to some of the photos where, let's say, when I work as when I take photo of events, for example, I wouldn't consider that as an art because it's more a documentary, right? It's just capturing what's happened and preserving that particular moment for the future. And for me, that's more that falls under a documentary, right? Now, can a documentary photography be an art? 100%, right? But at the end of the day, it really lies back in the intention behind it. That's how I kind of see it all fit in.
Interesting.
Okay, cool. Yeah, always interested to hear what other artists define art. So now I want to dive into community. Community is a word that's being thrown around a lot in the Web3 space, in the PFP space, in the art space. But I want to know, before Web3, were you able to build a community around photography? I know you do mentorship, you do workshops, and compare that to now in Web3, where the culture is different, technology is different. Do you think the Web3 technology empowered you to build a stronger, more sustainable community?
Yeah, 100%. I never really understand that word community until I am in the Web3 space. And even in the Web3 space, I don't really understand it, until quite recently, right? Especially when we start doing the NFT Bali Art Week. That was a big eye-opening of what a true community feel like. People kind of throw away throw around this word community, because it is the jargon of the space. But I think the word community is quite powerful and quite deep. Community is a group of people where they have the same interests and will back each other and support each other when during the times is hard, right? I like to say community is like an underwear. You don't always see it, but they're always there. so um
Uh,
so difference, I guess the difference comes back with the mindset, right? A lot of people see, okay, community, but they only care about themselves. I think when you really truly care about community, you need to step back from our ego, from what we want to build for ourselves, and give give back before you ask for something in return. And when you do that, then that's where a true community are built, right? Because people are building based on each other's best interests and being able to give as the best way they can to each other and lift each other up through doing that. And I think that is a true definition of a community.
So were you able to build a community prior to Web3, you think? Did you
Well,
have that?
I didn't even know what's a community was. So the short answer is no. Like I didn't even know. Like I never even, it never even come across my mind. Like, oh, I need to build a community. I need to be part of a community, or, and I think like it's really funny how we say this in the space. It's like, oh, we need to build a community. We need to build a community. I think what we need to do is like, if we give enough to the same the people who are in the same space with the same interests, that become your community. You don't need to build it, it will be there. It's organically happen. So yeah, I think um I truly understand that community until there. So how does that apply to what I'm doing with photography and everything that I do in with my entrepreneurship and so forth? It's basically, I have a mission, right? And some people will relate to that mission, and some people will want to be part of the movement of that mission, but some people doesn't relate to that, and that's okay, right? The people who resonated, they will jump on board. And a good example is when we did NFT Art Week, NFT Bali Art Week, we have a very strong mission that a lot of community jump on board to support us, right? We didn't build it. We literally, some of those people, like we come across, like I came across Wim from Obscura DAO literally through a tweet, and I DM him and I say, hey, I want to do this and I think it would be cool. And then he was like, let's have a chat, right? So
Interesting.
that's where I find that is community. If you have to force and build community, I don't think it's gonna be sustainable, because there is an external factor that make people want to be there, and when that factor is gone away, it will fade away. But if they are there for the mission, for the journey, right? Regardless, during the bear market, the bull market, the hard time, the economic crisis, whatever it is, the true community will always be there.
Yeah, I think that's a really good insight. I mean, in the blockchain space, community is a massive kind of thing that you hear a lot, and everyone that you speak to is trying to build a community. But I often find that, like you mentioned, that can sometimes feel like a forced sort of activity where you're trying to force this community growth. But if you begin first with the why, the mission behind the mission, the purpose, and then you kind of act on that mission, naturally people will gravitate towards that who also align with those sorts of values. So I think that's probably a good approach just in general for anyone listening, who maybe they would like to start a community at some point, is maybe just really get clarity on the things that you care about, your mission, kind of act on that, communicate that with others. And then once they kind of see you doing that thing and that resonates with them, then they'll probably hop on board. They'll send you a DM, they'll slide into your DMs and can be like, oh, I dig what you do. Like, let's catch up for a call, or like, how can I help out? I think that's probably a good way to begin that community building process.
And can I just add one quick thing? I literally did a presentation about community recently, I think 2 days ago. And you know who is the example that I use? The example that I use is Mahatma Gandhi, right? He built a community out of nothing, right? He doesn't have money, he doesn't have, all he have is a mission and an intention. And through that, he was able to, what's the word for it? I don't want to say recruit, but like people just follow him for what he want to do, because people truly believe in his mission, in his vision, and truly believe in his intention. All he did was just do what he believed on, and people follow. And through that, like he made such a big impact, not only in his country but in the world, right? Creates an impact. And just imagine, back then there's no
Feels
mobile
like he
phone.
didn't have an Instagram account.
Exactly. Right. So that's a good example, when
Yeah.
people want to say, it's like, I want to build a community. Well, look at Mahatma Gandhi, and you see how a true community is being formed. I believe that in this Web3 space, sometimes I feel like we're forced to make things very quickly,
100%.
make things happen very quickly, and for that reason, we dilute the true meaning of that community.
100% agree. From the perspective of a photographer, so if we look at Web3, where do you see the value in Web3? Where do you see the opportunities in Web3 from the perspective of a photographer? So if a photographer is listening in, and like, I've heard of Web3, they're interested, what are those carrots that will get them to convert them to the dark side?
I think the big things is gonna be provenance, and I'm gonna explain that through words that are more relatable to most people. If some people are hearing it from the web too, I think this is an era. It's an interesting era nowadays, right? We are no longer an era where about 20-30 years, it's about how cool one person is. That's how people become successful. Now people are sick of that. Now people cared about how much that person create a positive impact, whether it's through there's the other people, their community, their surrounding, right? So if we look at the Web3 culture, I think if you look at some of the brands, some of the not only brands but also entrepreneurs, solopreneur, artists that have made it in the space, they're able to do that. They're able to give back, create a community, and be able to be successful from that. And we have seen that from time to time. So it's no longer about how cool I am, but it's more about how much can you impact other people. And this is really cool because um, many photographers who are quote unquote not known or never heard of in Instagram era, because they don't have thousands or hundred thousands of followers, could make it in this space because they willing to give back to the community. But what I'm truly excited about in photography, or in the NFT especially, in the smart contract, is the ability to um, authenticate, right? The ability to track, as well as the ability to collaborate. A lot of that become more transparent. A lot of that become nail in the blockchain, right? It's a lot more difficult to what do you call it? To change or to create a fake identity. I know it's not impossible, and there is still a lot of scams out there. I understand. The technology is not perfect, but it is the first step. And just like everything in life, changes is never easy. Changes is never smooth. And this is the changes that we are feeling right now. There's a lot of exciting things, but there's also a lot of challenges that we have to come across before this become the thing of the future, right? But yeah, look, we have to step out of our comfort zone to be able to do that. And I think where as an entrepreneur myself, right, where the Web3 become powerful is when we're able to integrate it with our day-to-day life, right? When we're able to integrate that with what we do, going to the gym, going on a photo trip, going on a travel. If That's where the NFT or the Web3 become very what do you call it, seamless, especially in the future. I could just see that.
So now I want to dive in more into the photography side. Since you joined the space, I think you're quite active in the NFT photography communities, that space in general. What are some things that you observed that the photography space in Web3 kind of evolved from in maybe 2 years ago, 1 year ago, when it was the hype. I mean, you joined before the hype. So from that to the hype, back down now to the bear market, where do you see the NFT photography going moving forward?
Um, do you mean like what is the future of NFT photography from here, or can you rephrase your question, Frank?
Yeah, so I want to hear more about NFT photography space because you've been in for a long time, and for me, I only just started to get into it. What are I just want to see if there's any kind of trends that are going on in the photography specifically, because I see this medium in Web3 very differently than illustrations and 3D that people can use to do derivative art for PFP projects. They use AI a lot. They, I see photography kind of different from the rest. So I'm just curious, what are some observations that you see um, about the photography communities and the space in Web3 that maybe people who are not in the photography communities, they don't see from the outside?
The photography community in the Web3 are pretty tight, actually. There are, a lot of good people in there, and it's quite enjoyable to be part of it. It's like one big family, and I really wish that we could teleport and, and just meet people from different part of the world, because sometimes that's what it feel like. And a lot of that, it 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 came from the impact of Twitter Space and Clubhouse, where now we can talk and back and forth, have a back and forth conversation with people, instead of before it's kind of a broadcasting, right? So that's what's really cool about it. Now, photography have, of course, it has changed a lot. When it first started, it was about collections. People are making collections, and 15 collection, 50 collections, and then from there it's kind of shifted to one-on-ones. I suppose it's probably start with one-on-ones and then collection, or maybe they kind of just happen next to each other, and then it shifted through open edition, limited edition, and so forth. And now we kind of see basically mix of everything in there. And what I see what I see quite exciting in the space is now how creators are start collaborating with each other, creating new ways of doing art. And I think for if you want to focus for like a collector's NFT photography type of things, I think there are three things that are important for this space. First is you need to be known in the space, in the community, by the collectors, right? A lot of collectors not only invest on the art but also in the artist. Second is, of course, it's the art. It's always the art, if it's good, if it's strike someone's emotions, if it's interesting, and it can be presented in many different ways, to be able to do that. And third, it's the I lost my train of thought there. I have the third one. Now it's kind of walk away on me. But yeah, the third is the uniqueness of the art, right? I think Ruben is an example where he create this groundbreaking technological way to represent art from his photography. And I think that's what Web3 is all about. It's all about innovation, right? The Web3 itself born out of innovation. I think if we sure, it's there's nothing wrong to just sell your photography, but I think when it if we can um what do you call it? If we can put different things, or different if we can adopt different way of presenting our photo, that become a lot more interesting, that become a lot more fun to consume the contents, to experience, for myself, I think where photography stand out is to be able to see a past moment and be able to experience that past moment today, right?
Mm.
I still don't know how that, the mechanics of that, right? But if you could be there, look at this particular photo and feel the exact thing that I'm feeling when I was there, the cold, the wind, the sun rays that's on your eyes that you can't see anything, all of that. I think when we can recreate that through AR, through whatever, I think that's where photography become very, very exciting in the space.
Okay. So you say for photographers who would be stepping into Web3 for the first time, maybe think about more than just creating the art, but also how you present, how you distribute the art using the blockchain technology. And there are some great, very creative ways of doing so by artists already. And people keep coming up with new ideas. Some people, they sell prints and they burn the print in real life in order for people to get the NFT, vice versa. So a lot of creative ways to do it and play with the smart contract. Yeah, it's fun. It's exciting times for artists and photographers to step in. Very cool.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I think it's time for people to be encouraged to try and not to be afraid to fail. It's a time where innovations is excitement, and failures is just one of those things, right? Failures is part of success. Without failures, you can never get into success.
Yeah, definitely an exciting time. Definitely encouraged creatives to kind of play around with these kind of new technologies. Another new technology that's out at the moment is kind of like AI. I mean, it's been around for a while, but it's kind of skyrocketed in popularity recently. I posted something on Instagram about a month ago, like a wildlife generated photograph on Midjourney. I posted it up and kind of asked the question around, what do wildlife photographers think of the direction of photography when you combine it with AI? Because there's a few pros to it, but there's also a lot of potential risks, and there's a lot of things that photographers are maybe a bit anxious about. Where do you see photography kind of evolving or adapting to the rise of AI?
I think it really depends why you want to do photography, right? If you want to do photography, some people do photography because they want to get a bunch of followers on Instagram, right? And they see that, well, why would I go out there when I could sit on my sofa and create this in AI and get more followers creating in an AI than learning how to become a better photographer, waking up in the morning and all this stuff, right? Well, then if that is your mission, then why bother being a photographer? I think photography never going to change. Maybe commercially it will shift a little bit with the power of AI, but for me, for example, my purpose of doing photography is to go out there, experience the moment and being able to capture it, right? It doesn't matter if somebody else can recreate it through AI. If I were to do that, then I couldn't enjoy that experience, right? And I called my photography the Wicked Hunt, right? And the reason behind that is because in the past there was a time where I would go to a location literally to recreate what I have seen in the internet, right? I was like, okay, like got there. It's like, where is the angle? Where is the lighting? Okay, this is it. Take a photo, go home, right? But I realized that that is not photography. Photography is to look to be able to capture the moments through the lens of a camera, right? And it only become truly yours when you can use your own vision, use your own perspective, use your own interpretation. So then, with that mindset in mind, I enjoy the Wicked Hunt. I enjoy the adventure. Photography is just the trophy. So if I go up to the mountain, right, and everything become cloud out, I'll take photo of that cloud and I will be proud of it and say it was a crappy day, but I went anyway and I had a lot of fun, right? It was if it was a great sunset, even better. I went through all of this, got lost in everything, almost gave up, but I pushed through and got this shot, right? So
Yeah.
photography for me was a way to eternalize a moment, a way to tell myself, well done, good job for going out there and see the rest of the world and see what's the beauty around our world.
Yeah, I think that's a good take, because when I think of kind of AI, and if you use a kind of tool like Midjourney to create and like to generate an image, you're generating the trophy, kind of the output, the visual output of something. But you can't use AI to recreate that experience that led up to that photo. And I think that has a lot of value, not just in the photographer, that whole experience of kind of trekking through the jungle or whatever in Canada to take that photo of the aurora, the northern lights. That's like profound for the photographer, but there's a lot of probably lessons that you can communicate through that experience, that you couldn't communicate if you just generated the trophy on Midjourney. And that's not to say that generating those trophies don't have value, but that kind of different things. So I think they will coexist, because the fact is you can't replicate those physical experiences that are linked with photography.
100%. And I think, with photography, it's just a lot deeper in meaning, right? Frank, you have one of your photo published in Nat Geo, and it was such a rare creature, right? I mean, yeah, of course you can recreate it on AI, and but it's also the same, like you go to Google and literally screenshot it, right?
Yeah.
It's literally the same thing. It's the same with people creating composite in photography and claiming it's real photo experience. So it hasn't changed in that sense, for me. Like, it's people, if people want to alter a photo, they can do it even before the AI happened. Now it's just a lot easier to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
True. Speaking about art photography, of course, we have to talk about exhibitions, and we've done 4 exhibitions back to back last month in May in Bali. Can you share with us a little bit about the behind the scenes, how it got to happen, and maybe moving forward, what can we expect? Is there anything photographers can look forward to and get and participate in?
Yeah, 100%. So in the month of May, we held 10 days NFT Bali Art Week, right? It's a 4 exhibition back to back, and it it went crazy, right? I mean, I had the idea about 2 years ago. I had a chat with Ruan and this other NFT artist called Zenafi, and this year it was, sorry, already felt like it was last year. This year, I think in the beginning of this year, we have the idea, we talk about it, and then Frank kind of come in and push us like, hey, like, let's do this, like, let's do this. And he was, I must say, I owe it a lot to you, Frank, because without you pushing that, I don't think I would push Thai and get to where we are today. But that was a good example of the power of community, right? What I mentioned earlier, Frank, myself, and Ruan are not big names in the Web3. Maybe Frank with with all the PFP events that he has held, and Ruan with the Metarupa. But I can say I'm nobody, right? And we were able to create such a global impact where we reach about 1 million people in Twitter, where we have 15 communities joining our movement, our event. Even though most of them, some of them we already know beforehand, but half of them we didn't know beforehand, right? And they trusted us. They trusted to be part of this event. They don't even know how it's gonna turn out, but we have such a strong mission to be able to create a bridge between the local and the international NFT scene. Create a bridge between the emerging, the underrepresented, and the established artists, as well as between the founders, the investors, and or like the collectors and the artists, right? Um, I'd we had 7,000, about 7,000 plus submission, which was insane. I think when we were planning this, we were like, so what happened if we only have 500 submission? We are
7,000. That's
going through the
crazy.
worst case. Yeah,
That's a lot.
and it was crazy how it just blew up from there, right? Now everybody heard of the art week, everybody heard of the NFT Bali event that we've held, the exhibitions. World of Women jump in, NFT Asia, Obscura DAO jump in, and the Hug, and many other big communities that I could say, I mean, why would you trust us? You guys are well known in this space and you trust us. We never put anything like this. But this is the power of community. This is the power of having that vision, wanting to give back to the community. And from there, we have helped a lot of artists who never been exhibited because we did a blind curation and we wanted to focus on art, right? So the curators didn't get access to the name of the artist, and they literally judge based on the art itself, right? And these are cross-platform curators as well. And they asked us, it's like, I'm not an expert in this thing. Like, how do we judge it? And this is where it come back to that question that you guys have, what is art to me? And that's what we
Mm.
say to the curators: just pick the one that truly speaks to you, to your heart, right? So yeah, through that success, we there is an Indonesian Independence Day and World Photography Day, which coincide next to each other. And we are holding a World Photography Day here in Bali, and most likely gonna be another showcase in Beijing commercial space as well. So we're very excited about that. And again, one of our big mission is to be able to give back to the community. We want to be able to invite the local photographers and show them what is the Web3 about, so that they have an opportunity to understand what it is all about. And at the end of the day, it's their choice to whether they want to join or not. But at the very least, they have that opportunity to join in. So yeah, look, guys, the submission is gonna open up very shortly. So if that's something that if you are photographers and you want to be exhibited here and possibly showcase in Beijing, it's a good time for you to check that out. Just a little plug there, shameless plug.
Yep. Plug away. Yeah.
Excited. I'm excited.
Yeah. We're nearing the end of the podcast. On that plug, or if anyone's listening and kind of wants to reach out to you with any questions, where can they find you online?
So the best way for you to find me is type in The Wicked Hunt, and you'll find me across all social media with the same handle. I'm very lucky that not many people have already taken that, or not. No one have taken that. So it's across all of the platform. It's just at The Wicked Hunt. If you are wanting to learn how to take a better to become a better photographer, to be able to find true happiness and fulfillment through your passion, whether you'd like to, you know, be able to win awards, to be able to earn from your photography, or to simply be able to take a photo that you can be proud of, that you can share with your friends and families, and create a legacy that you can share with the rest of your with generations to come, then I'm here to help, to get you to where you need to be in the shortest possible time, so that you can focus on what truly matters.
Nice. We'll definitely make those, all the information easily available. To wrap things up though, what's a kind of a closing message, or a message or a thought you want to leave? Probably more particular the creatives, the artists, the photographers in Web3 already, or looking to be in Web3. What's a closing thought you want to leave them?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I think I'm gonna go back to, you know, my mission, and a lot of the things that I do, you know, whether it's through my podcast, my Instagram post, it's always a long form, and it's always about this. And I'm just gonna resonate it here, and it's about um, we only have one chance to make this life truly the life that, when one day we are at the end of it, we don't want to be able to look back and live with regret, right? So if you always wanted, you know, if you always wanted to try something, to do something, to be able to experience different things, I'd say go for it. Because at the end of the day, what you really, you know, there's a lot of fear, there is a lot of uncertainty, there is a lot of uncomfortableness, if that's a word.
That's the word.
Trying, going outside of your comfort zone and trying new things. But at the end of the day, what you really need to ask yourself is, what is the cost of doing it versus the cost of not doing it? And, you know, when you are there lying on your dying bed and look back to your life, would you live with regret, or would you be okay with everything that you have ever come across? So yeah, look, don't be afraid of failures. Go out there, try new things, and if it meant to be, it really it will be yours. If it not meant to be, then don't worry about it.
Love that. Great piece of advice.